Well, we're often told that grief is the mountain that you climb, and that once you reach the top, you made it. It's done. But reality is, grief is more of a wave. If you don't learn how to sit with that feeling of heaviness, it is heavy versus a feeling of heaviness. Let's take a look at it through the lens of the legit mindset. This feeling of gratitude in my left hand and this feeling of sometimes the feeling of sadness in my right. Life is all about lessons. Give yourself a moment where you just sit with it, because you remember a feeling is just an emotion that wants to communicate with us. That's where real change begins. Every success story has a chapter that most people never hear. That's the one between the breakdown and the breakthrough. Hi, I'm Curtis McCullom, the president of Human Potential Coaching. Welcome to the Legit Mindset Podcast, learning, growing, expanding, and transforming, where we talk about those hidden chapters, the failures, the lessons, and the breakthroughs that make success real. I'm Curtis McCullom, certified clinical hypnotherapist, the founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, and the creator of the Legit Mindset Framework. Welcome to the show. Today's show is personal. It's been about 5 years since my son, Adam, transitioned from this life to the afterlife. And I want to talk a little bit about the new normal. I guess one of the first questions you might be asking, why talk about grief on a podcast about mindset? Well, we're often told that grief is a mountain that you climb, and that once you reach the top, you've made it. It's done. But reality is, grief is more of a wave. It doesn't need a birthday or a Christmas or an anniversary to kind of pull you under. It literally can just be a random Thursday where you just feel those feelings. And so it can happen anytime. But if you don't learn how to sit with that feeling of heaviness, and I want to stop right here and make sure that I make a distinction here. What I mean by feeling of heaviness, I don't want you to identify with heaviness, because that's important. Let me tell you a story. My wife, Lisa, when we first lost Adam, she used to say, wow, this is heavy. It has a feeling of heaviness, not a feeling of heaven, but this is heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy and heavy. And what happened was the subconscious mind does not know how to distinguish between a feeling or you saying it is heavy versus a feeling of heaviness. Is totally different. What was happening was, over time, subconscious mind took it as, hey, it's heavy, so I'm going to give her more heaviness. And so she started to gain weight. That's why I want to make that distinction, that we're talking about a feeling. So this feeling that you are experiencing, this feeling becomes the ghost that kind of prevents that authentic connection in kind of every area of your life. And when we'll talk about this so that you can be both a high performer and a person who is healing. Now, specifically today, I'm going to be talking about my son, my experience, my grief that I'm actually going through. But I want you to understand that this is my personal journey. So you might be experiencing some grief in other areas of your life. It could be the loss in a relationship, a friendship. It could be a loss of a career. It could be a loss of a pet. It could be a loss of a spouse. It really doesn't matter. The feelings are real, and this still will help you move through that. But this is personal today, and I just want you to get this from me personally. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at it through the lens of the legit mindset. You remember, legit mindset is all about learning, growing, expanding, and transforming. So let's take a look at it through that lens. And the first part of learning is the awareness. We talk about this a lot because being aware, allowing yourself to just see, sense, and feel what's actually happening is one of probably, in my opinion, is one of the most important steps. And the awareness is recognizing the two hands of emotions. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that you can literally hold in one hand, you can hold in one hand the immense gratitude for the time you had with I can do that. I can hold the immense gratitude the time that I had with my son. In the other hand, I can hold the sharp feeling of sadness because he's not physically present. He's physically not here. He's absent. And both are true. And both are legitimate. My wife, Lisa, shared that concept with me because, she was going through this and she was kind of shared the fact that you can actually hold two emotions at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Sometimes people want you to grieve the way they want you to grieve. And so when they see you smiling or they see you have this sense of gratitude, they feel like, or they may say that you're not grieving the way they want you to grieve. And I want you to share something with you that the whole ideal of grieving, one of the things, the whole ideal of grieving is this. Everyone grieves in their own way. And when Adam first transitioned, one of the things that we agreed upon was we were going to allow each other to grieve the way that we grieve without judgment. And so I want you to know and understand that these two emotions, these two feelings, this feeling of gratitude, especially now, it wasn't always there. This is something I have to grow to. This feeling of gratitude in my left hand and this feeling of sometimes the feeling of sadness in my right both exist at the same time. And so it's okay. Everyone can grieve in their own way, knowing that you still have these two hands of emotions, this awareness of that. The second thing is the growing. The growing is releasing the resistance. It's not about getting over it. And I think sometimes people try to get over it. It's not getting over it. It's allowing the discomfort to kind of redefine your capacity for empathy. You will never be the same person that you were before. And it's almost like this. It's like you have these waves of feelings coming through. And so now you've learned from it. You got this awareness. You've grown from it. Now you are now being able to release the resistance and allow it to pass through you. My mentor, Zimmerman Sierra, he's the founder of the Hypnotherapy Academy of America, where I got one of my certifications as a clinical hypnotherapist. He states it like this. He says, a feeling is an emotion that wants to communicate with us and leave. So think about that for a second. A feeling is an emotion that wants to communicate with us and leave. So the growing is the releasing the resistance, knowing and understanding. It just wants to communicate with us. So you allow this feeling to kind of pass through you without judgment. And that's the power of it. And then we're going to look at expanding. Expanding is new perspectives. I realized this through the work of Dr. Brian Weiss. I mentioned him in a previous podcast. That's where I kind of created the legit mindset. That life, this is what I've learned over this last 3 or 4, 5 years, that life is all about lessons. Even the most painful lesson of all. These transitions carry a frequency of expansion. So even in the midst of that, we allow ourselves to expand, knowing that it's still growth, it's expanding. So now you have the awareness of learning, then you have the expansion of releasing, allowing it to pass through you, and then you're coming to the expanding, this new perspective. Is that it's all about learning. It's about even in painful situations like this, it's all about learning. And then Transforming is becoming the new version of you that was always there. And this is the thing. I think one of the challenges that some of us have is that we try to go back to what was. We want it to be the old normal, but there's no old normal anymore. That's gone. Now we have to integrate the new normal that's kind of tempered in this deep understanding of love. Because you'll never be the person you were before. You can now transform to this new being. So allowing yourself to transform to this new being is what's really all about at this moment in time. So we want to stop. This is sponsored by Spoke Human Potential Coaching. If you are a CEO, founder, or entrepreneur who has achieved surface success but still feels discomfort inside, it's time to stop performing and start transforming. We help you identify the invisible patterns that's blocking your growth so you can now operate from true alignment. Visit bespokehumanpotentialcoaching.com today and book your free 15-minute clarity call. It's a let's have coffee with Curtis. I mean, let's call it what it is. What we're going to do is just kind of get to know each other. So let's make your next breakthrough legit. Back to the show. So how do we navigate this? How do we navigate those Thursdays, those waves? You remember I told you before, it doesn't have to be a birthday. It doesn't have to be an anniversary day. It doesn't have to be, it just can be a day, right? So the first thing we need to do is practice the two hands. Practice the two hands. When the feeling of heaviness hits, and in my original notes, it says if it hits. Now it's going to hit, right? It's going to hit. When it hits, look at both hands. Stop and look at both hands. So on your left hand, just name one thing that you are grateful for. And on the right hand, just allow the specific feeling of sadness that you're currently experiencing. Number two, honor the wave. When the feeling of sadness arrives, don't judge it. Just give yourself space, maybe 10 minutes, just to sit with it. No emails, no text, no strategies, no performing. Just allow yourself to have that moment. And remember that a feeling is just an emotion that wants to communicate with us and lead. Number three, the subconscious lesson. One thing about the subconscious mind is that it loves learning. It loves to get a learning. So because what happens with the learning, it assists in releasing the negative emotions. So what I want you to do, the third thing I want you to do is stop and ask yourself, what is this wave trying to teach me today about my capacity to love? The question again is, what is this wave of sadness? What is this wave trying to teach me today about my capacity to love? Now, the answer may not come right away, but it will come and it will impart some inspired action, a nudge that when performed, it actually opens you up for greater capacity. So that's the third thing. So number one, once again, the two-hand practice. On the left, one thing that you're grateful for, the feeling of gratitude. And on the right, just recognizing the feeling of sadness, knowing that both can exist at the same time. Number two, honor the wave. Give yourself some time. Give yourself a moment. Give yourself a moment where you just sit with it. Because you remember, a feeling is just an emotion that wants to communicate with us and leave. Number three, or the third thing, is the subconscious learning. When energy is released with greater ease, when you allow yourself to get a learning from it, that learning, ask yourself, what is it that you're trying to teach me? What is it that I'm trying to learn from this feeling today? Because it might be something different that's going to give me a greater capacity for love. What if you let these two hands coexist? You stop performing strength and start living from alignment. You become a leader who is grounded in reality and not just a highlight reel. Take a moment this week and ask yourself this: where in my life am I performing instead of transforming? Because that awareness, that's where real change begins. Ready to move from performing to transforming? Visit Bespoke Human Potential Coaching today and book your 15-minute free clarity call. Let's have a cup of coffee with Curtis. Coffee with Curtis. Let's call that clarity call or coffee with Curtis. If this message resonated with you, follow and share it with someone who's in their own breakthrough season. This is the Legit Mindset Podcast. Failures, lessons, and breakthroughs. Real stories, real setbacks, real growth. I'm Curtis McCullom. Make it a great day.